What's going on, everybody? This is Marcus. Before I get started, I want to thank you guys so much for your support. It really means everything to me. You guys mean so much to me. So thank you for your support and thank you for everything. For those who are new to my channel and for those who are seeing it for the first time, make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications whenever I drop a video. And we're going to always keep this thing rolling. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so you guys mean so much to me, and your feedback and your support helps me out tremendously. So thank you for everything and thank you for your support. So let's talk about Spider-Man's 4 development and if they're going to reset the Sony universe by bringing in a new Peter Parker. So that's been going around recently as far as like the rumor mill, as far as like what Sony's going to do. I know Marvel Studios is definitely working on Spider-Man 4. Tom Holland, Jacob Batalon, and Zendaya are going to reprise their roles respectively as Peter Parker, Ned Leeds, and MJ. So that's definitely on the rise as far as like the next development for Spider-Man 4. It's definitely going to be awesome. Definitely going to be the sequel to Spider-Man No Way Home as well. So that's definitely going to be part of Spider-Man 4. Is definitely going to go beyond the trilogy as well, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. And like I said before in my previous videos, Sony only has the rights to Spider-Man villains and anti-heroes such as Venom and Morbius. So I believe one day, if it happens eventually to where Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are going to work out a deal to where they're going to bring in Spider-Man villains to the MCU and have them set in one universe. So that'll be pretty awesome because they practically have all the rights to every Marvel character, including the big ones like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. So those are practically just those two main important stables in the Marvel Universe that they're definitely going to bring in for the MCU. So they're going to already be established, and it's definitely going to be phenomenal for sure. So as far as like Spider-Man 4 is concerned, bringing in a new Peter Parker, I know there's talks about bringing in Miles Morales as well, for him to come into the MCU and become Spider-Man as well. We did see his uncle Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming, so eventually we'll definitely see Miles Morales for sure. Even when Jamie Foxx, who played Max Dillon in Electro in Spider-Man No Way Home, where he actually told Peter Andrew Garfield's variant that there's got to be a black Spider-Man out there somewhere, which is basically hinting at a Miles Morales. So Miles Morales is one of my favorite characters in Marvel Universe. Of course, I have the game, of course, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Of course, Miles Morales is the son of Jefferson Davis and Mia as well. So basically, he's half Hispanic, half black as well. So he's definitely one of my favorite characters for sure. So he's pretty cool. His story is amazing. He definitely becomes the second Spider-Man. So it'd be pretty cool to see him in the MCU, which is pretty much being talked about as of right now. So I definitely can't wait to see that. It's gonna be awesome. But my bro Warren Thompson from the Cosmic Wonder was talking about the exact same thing. So we're gonna go ahead and hear him out. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and MCU, and of course, the Spider-Man universe over at Sony as well. And it actually looks like Sony might be doing somewhat of a reboot of their Spider-Man universe, and this does include a new Spider-Man, which is quite interesting to think about, and we'll definitely talk in detail about this in this video. But also, at the same time, it looks like Marvel Studios has some pretty big plans that are already in the works for their next Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland, which is great news. But it does seem like the studios really are keeping their universes separate. It doesn't look like we are going to be getting Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the Sony Spider-Man universe, but he is strictly sticking to the MCU. After all, the Spider-Man No Way Home post-credit scene did set up a new Venom, not Tom Hardy's Venom from the Sony universe, but a new Venom in the MCU, which also implies that a new Spider-Man should be coming to the Sony universe as well. But what's really interesting interesting is that Sony might actually be doing a complete reset of their entire universe as we know it, and it all starts with Madam Web. So, as you can see, lots to talk about in this video, so let's dive into it. And of course, if you're new and you want to stay up to date on all things Marvel and Spider-Man, be sure to subscribe. So, let's start off with the MCU's Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and Marvel and Sony's plans for the next trilogy. Now, to start off, first and foremost, if you are not aware, after Spider-Man No Way Home was released, Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, and Amy Pascal, an executive producer over at Sony, came out and told us that they were already working on the next Spider-Man film with Tom Holland. They also specifically stated that the only reason they told us that was so we don't all freak out and question whether or not Spider-Man is actually going to remain in the MCU or go back over to the Sony Spider-Man universe. That's what happened after Spider-Man Far From Home. We all didn't know if Spider-Man was going to remain in the MCU, so they're just coming out and stating already, yes he is, and we are working on the next films.
Which is cool. It's actually pretty awesome that he actually is going to stay in the MCU too, especially with that deal, so it's definitely going to be awesome for sure.
A new report states that they have already begun these plans. In fact, these plans actually prevented a Spider-Man cameo in She-Hulk, which is a pretty big bummer because the fact that we could have gotten a Spider-Man cameo in She-Hulk with a Daredevil cameo is pretty disappointing, especially if they could have all actually been together. Imagine seeing Daredevil and Spider-Man together with She-Hulk. That would have been pretty dang cool, and the She-Hulk
just like in the comics,
actually wanted this to happen. However, they were not allowed to use Spider-Man in the She-Hulk series. This report is coming from thedirect.com in an exclusive interview with She-Hulk series creator and head writer Jessica Gao. And in this interview, she states that there were a lot of characters that were from the comics that they couldn't use because of either a rights issue or there were a few times where it was because Marvel had something to do with it. But in this interview, they actually indirectly confirmed that Marvel and Sony have already begun their plans for the next Spider-Man film. This is what Jessica Gao had to say. As far as cameos were concerned, she said, there were a lot of characters from the comics. We wanted a lot of the comics for characters for fun situations where we could bring in like a character and think of like funny reasons why they would be in legal trouble. But there were a lot of characters that were from the comics that we couldn't use either because of a rights issue or there were a few times where it was because Marvel, all they would say is that they had other plans. And that's all they would tell us. And then we tried very, very hard to poke and prod and get a little bit more information. Of course, they wouldn't tell us. Now, as far as what character or characters that Marvel was talking about, she goes on to say, but I will say, the one MCU character that really bummed out a lot of the writers in our room that we couldn't use was Spider-Man, and anyone involved around, like the Spider-Man universe, because we had so many Spider-Man fans in the room. So, the She-Hulk writers wanted to bring in Spider-Man, but were super bummed out when Marvel told them that they couldn't. Now, there are two reasons for this, and one is that Sony simply wouldn't let them. But that's probably not it. Sony has let Marvel use Spider-Man in other properties before. Properties that weren't specifically Spider-Man films. Granted, they were big movies like Captain America Civil War, Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. But keep in mind that Marvel Studios themselves and Kevin Feige does have a lot of pull with what Spider-Man does. If Kevin Feige thought it would be good to have Spider-Man and She-Hulk, he would make it happen. But if we look back to what she said, it's very clear that Marvel Studios had other plans for Spider-Man. She said that there were a few times where they wanted a certain character, but they couldn't use them because Marvel, all they would say is that they had other plans, and that's all they would tell them, and then they tried very, very hard to poke and prod and to get more information, but Marvel would not tell them. Since all of the writers really wanted Spider-Man the most, it seems like, I'm assuming that the character that they were poking about, that Marvel Studios had other plans for, is Spider-Man. Which sucks that he can't be in She-Hulk, but is also good news at the same time. In a state where we don't really know what's happening right now with Spider-Man 4, it's good to know that Marvel and Sony at least have somewhat of a plan. And you would hope they do, because Secret Wars is not that far away. It's 3 years away, which means there's probably only time for one more Spider-Man film, maybe two if they want to get one out really soon, to take place before Secret Wars happens, because Spider-Man is going to be a part of Secret Wars. We've already seen the three Spider-Men together. It's the perfect opportunity to bring them together again, and add even more Spider-Man, not necessarily variants, but Spider-Man like Miles Morales. And they could even throw in characters like Spider-Man 2099.
Exactly.
Plus, not to mention, they could link the Venom symbiote to Secret Wars, as that that is the first time in the comics where we actually see Spider-Man in his black symbiote suit. And Marvel made it pretty clear that the next Spider-Man film should, according to the post-credit scene of No Way Home, be about Venom. And I think Marvel Studios probably only has time for one more Spider-Man film before we get to Secret Wars. After all, we know we're not getting a Spider-Man film in 2022. We most likely won't get one in 2023 since we really haven't heard anything about the movie yet. That leaves 2024 or early 2025 to do one Spider-Man film before Secret Wars. Actually, before the Kang Dynasty, because if that's going to be an Avengers film, which it is, Spider-Man should be a part of the Avengers. So I hope he shows up then. Now, as far as Sony's Spider-Man universe is concerned, it does look like they are indeed getting a new Spider-Man, which is a very, very interesting move. But basically what we know so far is that the movie Madam Web, which is a Spider-Man universe-based movie, is going to include a baby Peter Parker. According to a report from the Cosmic Circus, Sony for Madam Web has cast Emma Roberts to play Mary Parker, the mother of Peter Parker. And based off of what we know, Mary Parker is supposed to be pregnant in Madam Web, which means that she will have a baby Peter Parker. Now, if this is true, this means that Sony will indeed be getting a new Spider-Man, but way down the future, unless they decide to do somewhat of a time jump in Madam Web. Now, they can explore the multiverse in this movie as well. After all, in the comics, Madam Web is a cosmic being, and she can travel between universes. And in the comics, she teaches Spider-Man and other Spider-Man very important lessons. So this baby Peter Parker could simply be in another universe, or Sony could be planning to kind of just start over. Morbius failed very, very badly recently, and we're only getting one more Venom film. So a reboot of the entire Spider-Man universe over at Sony could be happening, which could be a good thing or could be a really bad thing. But let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Do you think they should reboot, or do you think they should just try to build off what they already have? Let me know down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to stay up to date on all things related to Spider-Man and Marvel. For live updates, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And as always,
So I don't know how that's going to work out as far as like bringing in a baby Peter Parker. It's definitely fascinating to say the least, but I don't know. Because like I said, honestly, Morbius didn't do too well in the box office. So it's like, it could have been far better, which is the reason why I believe most people are definitely vocal about Sony giving the rights back to Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios, is because Kevin basically knows how to take care of the characters and do them justice for sure. So, but again, I think the reason why it goes back to contracts and money negotiations, but the reason why they actually have the rights to Spider-Man villains and several others is because when they were separating the properties, especially back in the 90s and the early 2000s, Marvel was going through bankruptcy, and so they had to separate their projects together by separating Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and X-Men by branching them out to different organizations. But now that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are correcting the rights Justice then they're definitely going to bring in characters as well. So it's the same thing with Spider-Man and the villains as well, especially other heroes or anti-heroes like Madam Web and Morbius. Basically, the fact that they still have the rights to them, they're still working out the deal to where they pretty much can let the characters borrow each other, but I think eventually they're definitely going to try and at least negotiate to where they can bring them all in one universe. And most people have been vocal about this as well, especially after the catastrophe that is Morbius, and especially in theaters as well. So I think eventually it could definitely happen, because I definitely want the characters to be told justly, especially the way they've been told in the comics. I definitely want them to pretty much try to bring all the characters to the MCU, because if anybody that can definitely tell stories correctly, it's definitely Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios. So, but I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this recent project that they already announced, especially with Madam Web showing up. It'll be pretty awesome to say the least. So I'm definitely curious to see what they're going to do with it. There's also talks about Black Cat showing up, Felicia Hardy in Spider-Man 4. So that's the rumor that I've also been hearing as well. So we'll definitely see where this is going to go. But me personally, I definitely want to see all the Spider-Man villains in the MCU. So I too am very vocal about this as well, because I definitely want that to happen as well. So it'll be pretty interesting to actually see that come to fruition. Now, as far as like She-Hulk, Daredevil, and Spider-Man showing up, that would be pretty awesome too. It would have been awesome. But of course, going back to the comics and the rights, I can see why the producers aren't going to bring them in for sure, especially bringing in Spider-Man. I mean, Daredevil's cool enough, but it would have been definitely awesome if we did see Spider-Man, Daredevil, and She-Hulk in one room like we've always seen them in the comics. So it would be pretty awesome to say the least. But of course, I'm not the only one that's been vocal about this as well. So, but it's definitely going to be awesome too, to say the least. But besides the point, I'm definitely excited to see Spider-Man 4. It's definitely going to be incredible. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I know they've shot most of the scenes of She-Hulk Attorney Law in Atlanta, Georgia, so it's not too far from my neck of the woods, so it's actually pretty cool. But I'm definitely looking forward to the series. It's dropping this Wednesday. I'm definitely going to do my review on the episodes and my take on it. So, again, I can't wait to see it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where She-Hulk's going to go. I'm also looking forward to seeing how Spider-Man's definitely going to play a part, especially with Secret Wars coming up. So, definitely looking forward to seeing that, especially with more announcements for D23 as well. So, it's definitely going to be awesome. So, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I love you guys so much. Thank you for your support. We're definitely on the road for 1,000K. So you guys spread my videos, share the message, share my video. It helps out tremendously, and your feedback is so important too. So thank you guys so much. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like this video, share this video. I love you guys so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you all for your support. Excelsior, and I'll catch you all in the next one.